necessarily in bringing a new curriculum, but in building on what's going on academically in universities now, but in an integrated fashion. And we thought that the Oikos Scholars curriculum provided the grist for that. And that curriculum has three parts: creating a just and equitable society, shaping green, sustainable communities, and building the foundations for peace. Those are the three academic pieces of the Oikos Scholars program that we build on and work with in an integrated fashion. So when students finish either the 3-week or the 6-week design, we want them to be clear that social justice and economic sustainability are not only intimately linked, but finally are not two different arenas, but one. And so the curriculum's out to do that kind of integration. And then that integration is the clue, the primary clue to the foundations for peace. And so that's the academic work that they do. And we use, of course, action reflection methodology and, a variety of experiential methods and so on to engage them in that curriculum. But then it's linked directly and integrated with their civic engagement. And previously, their civic engagement was initiating the Accelerate 77 research process. Now, what we intend to do is to hook into phase 3 of Accelerate 77, where the students would be involved in helping local initiatives connect, learn from each other, and deepen the process, accelerate the process.
And phase 3 is also about comprehensive community development, not just sustainability, right?
It is, but in response to what's going on in neighborhoods. We don't come in there with a knapsack full of stuff we're laying out on communities, but responding to what's going on in communities.
What is the relationship now with OCU? You mentioned their scholars program, and
Yeah.
you thought they were going to send more people, or what? How is that unfolding?
Well, we've got some work to do with OCU, because we still see them as the primary. We see OCU and DePaul University here in the city of Chicago as our two primary partners in higher education right now. And OCU, as you probably know, is a relatively small United Methodist University in Oklahoma City. And they've provided the academic vision for us that we're building upon, and have been a collegial relationship that we've been able to lean on. They just haven't found the way that they have devoted the administrative time to make this connection work. So we've got some more work to do there. DePaul University has been a really interesting partner to discover. There's a number of faculty members at DePaul were some of the early responders to our service learning work. And during the academic year, fall, winter, and spring of 2011 and 12, many of them sent students our way. We had over 200 students during the academic year involved in continuing the neighborhood research and getting it going. And many of them were from DePaul. Then the Stain Center at DePaul is the primary service learning vehicle that DePaul University uses. And we've been building a very deep collegial connection to the Stain Center, and have actually done some consulting work with them with their scholars program. And so we are out to build on that and see how we can leverage that into a stronger connection with DePaul, and maybe sort of open up a whole new arena of service learning with local universities and colleges. I've also been connected to a number of other universities and colleges in Chicago, but DePaul has been the strongest.
What strikes me at other colleges too, we had talked about Carleton St. Olaf.
Yeah.
They have, entrepreneur sections there and business sections that wasn't sort of part of the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is, and of course then there are a number of programs around that are inclined to the kind of work that we're doing as well, and we've been interested, rather than seeing them as competition, we've been interested in shaping collaborations with them. One of them is the Association of Colleges in the Midwest, ACM. They do an urban studies program here in Chicago that focuses on social justice, and that we think potentially is one of our collaborators in the future. Have some strong connections with staff there, and so one of the things we're going to do over the next several months is begin to think through how we can, what kind of collaboration we can shape with them.
James, what about seminaries?
Well, seminaries has been certainly on the horizon. It's not been an arena that we've had the energy and the staff to devote time to. And so we've sort of gone where the response has been forthcoming. And so certainly we've had some interest from seminaries that we've been able to do some work with, but that's not something that's been sustained. But that's certainly on the horizon and is a potential. There are a number of seminaries here in Chicago, and certainly the United Methodist seminaries in a couple of locations have indicated some interest.
Well, I'm wondering if there wasn't a way to mobilize a team that wouldn't put burden on you guys, but would be directed by you, that could, do that.
That's certainly a possibility. Yeah.
James, one of the ICA programs that always struggled, but it was active during the 90s and early 2000s, was called Youth as Facilitated Leaders, the IFL program. And it focused primarily on high school.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what brought that to mind was not necessarily that there ought to be a focus on high schools, but the Top Trainers Network. Have you had any conversations with them about a possible role in the service learning?
I think that's a very good idea, and one that again is kind of on the horizon. It's not something that, for a number of reasons, we focus energy on doing right now. Certainly the methods piece of our 3 and 6 weeks program focuses on enhancing the methodological capacities of participants. We see what we do as leadership training, which should not be a surprise to you. We're interested in enhancing the leadership capacities of participating students. But that has not, at this point, reached down to high school and has not engaged the top folk directly.
It strikes me that the benefits could flow both ways, to the Top Trainers Network.
Yes,
and
indeed.
to ICA.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Is there an avenue for continued engagement beyond graduation from these universities?
Well, one of the things interestingly, one of the conversations we were having yesterday as we were doing some business planning in the afternoon was a conversation about alumni of this program and being intentional with organizing alumni. And so, that would certainly be one of the possibilities for continuing engagement.
Since they're becoming leaders, I'm sure they'll continue to exercise their new skills.
The alumni of our first program with Oklahoma City University in summer of 2011 continue to provide leverage and helpful energy for us on that campus.
Is there any written work that has been put in a publication like Yes or In Context or about these opportunities?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. In the works.
In the works.
Yeah, one of the things that Terry has taken the lead on has been working with the faculty, particularly at DePaul, but faculty from other universities as well, whose students were involved in the research that led to the Accelerate 77 event. They want to write that up and get it into one of the service learning journals. There are a handful of, well, there are a number of journals, but there are a handful of journals that are seen as the standard bearers of the service learning universe. And so they want to write that up and get it in there. But that's not quite emerged yet.
I think you have, but have you been in touch with Stuart Humblebee?
I have not personally. Terry has. Terry and Saba and I have been really the brain trust, so to speak, that has put this together. And my particular role has been to take the lead in design.
I think, as you look at the program, you might want to just have we were talking about like an advisory support
Mm-hmm.
system,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
colleagues that are in service learning or attached to seminaries or what have you,
Yeah.
that could formulate a support team where you could bounce ideas off, could take assignments to do something or what have you.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, and we've done that
I didn't catch the last.
initially with folk in the Chicago area
Mm.
who've been talking to us about the work that we do, and have managed to access a number of colleagues to some extent who have been involved in higher education in terms of doing the designing, but need to, I think, devote more attention to that.
Because I think people are looking for some way
Yeah.
to connect,
Right.
other than just, you know, quote, archives.
Right.
things.
James, did you consider creating a board, so to speak, of university professors that would be like your group of champions consultant group? My father was a professor at Whitewater, University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and I still have close friends there. And I don't know how many others are that closely related to university folk, but, you know, my first thought is to get in touch with these people and see if they can send people down. I would need materials to send to them, but it strikes me that if we contact the university, yeah, I'll send that. If we contact a university professors are gonna wanna, in general, talk to one of their kind and speak to someone, and if we enlist some to be on something like a board or advisory council, maybe that would be your way of having the building of that network and represent a central point of contact, that it's a group.
I frankly, I don't think we'd want a board, so to speak.
I don't know what it's
But I do
called,
think
but
that
yeah.
we'd want a group of advisors who
Advisory council.
are colleagues that have at
Right.
least some access to
Right.
the universe that we operate out of.
Right.
Yeah.
You're at 30 minutes,
Okay,
just to let you know.
okay.
But we're not limited to that.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm prepared to spend as much time as you're prepared to spend.
Well, I am interested in just, because one of the things we're trying to decide, solve here is, how do we create a path for automatic archiving of any work of current programs? So that you don't come over with a big file and say, okay, Marge, here, stick this someplace.
I was gonna say, well, we got some files ready to bring in for you.
Well,
A lot of the archival materials on the walls in my office.
Yeah, well, the next thing though is we're talking about what is our digital archive, you know,
Mhm.
how we
Yeah.
actually keep
Yeah.
track of digital files, because
Yeah.
most files, like from your program or the service learning, are going to be digital.
Yeah.
And how do we sit with you to say, okay, now what are the categories of materials that we need? Because some of this then, as the archives get up and running, people will come in and it could be an avenue, you know, into that
Yep.
program by people from, say, business schools or whatever it is. I'm really intrigued by, you know, you're saying going back to the universities, and I still feel like even with the archives, that is one of our avenues of connection. Yeah, are the universities and the graduate programs and that kind of thing. Because people are ready at that level to think really outside the box as they create new stuff.
Well, you know, I agree. I think that that's true. Academics talk a lot about thinking outside the box.
And then they go,
Working outside the box is a different kind of challenge for them.
oh yeah, but this offers that opportunity.
It does.
Have you
Yes,
talked with
indeed.
Neil?
What's that?
Have you talked with Neil?
Neil Vance? Yeah, he's on the periphery. I would like to engage him more deeply. I've shared with Neil the initial draft of our 6 weeks design,
Right.
and I don't know what he thinks of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was
Well,
thinking,
you've talked
if
to-
we got kind of an advisory and
Yeah. Yeah.
put him in charge of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
You've been in touch with Stuart Umpleby more recently than I have. but
yeah.
Yeah,
Now, Seda
I
has
think
visited
he's
with Stuart
really-
as well.
yeah, Stuart is,